Well, hello again. This is Bill Eman, and this is a continuing series on food storage and food reserves. And the point of this video, briefly, is to talk about how big a food storage supply should you have and get a rough idea of cost. As you learned on an earlier video, certain religions, the Mormon religion, pretty much requires its members to have a year's worth of food and water stored in their home at all times for any number of emergencies or reasons that could come up. What I think is reasonable, I honestly think the year is a pretty reasonable amount, and that's what we are building towards in our family. It's not something you have to do all at once, but certainly something you do over a period of time to build a food reserve. For some people, a 3-month food reserve is sufficient. But what happens, and I guess the issue is to think about a few things. What happens if typical things that you buy at the food store double, triple, quadruple in price over the next months or year? Wouldn't it be nice to have a food supply to dip into to kind of offset some of the cost and perhaps some things that you just can't afford to buy anymore at the food store? And that's really what a food reserve is all about. It's being able to integrate that into a meal plan over time, regardless of whether unemployment, inflation, natural disasters, whatever happen. Again, this video series is not to scare anybody. It's just to prepare you, because I think there are some things that are going to be happening that we may not have seen in the recent past. And we're not talking depression necessarily, but you can't have debt that we have and not pay some sort of price for it. So to me, this seems like a reasonable thing. Well, what about cost? The company that I work with, the cost for prepared, stored, dehydrated food is somewhere around 91 cents a meal. And if you were a family of 2 adults and 1 or 2 kids, that would roughly be somewhere around, if you were going to build a year's food reserve, it would cost somewhere under $3,000, which seems like a lot. It's about $56 a week. You don't have to do it that way. You can build up a food reserve over time, and that's what we're doing. But what you really need to keep in mind is the importance of being prepared for issues down the road. If you decide you want a 3-month food reserve, well, that would be roughly somewhere around $750. There are lots of other options out there food-wise, most of them more expensive than what I outlined. So hopefully that gives you a rough idea of the amount of food you should have stored and a rough idea of cost, somewhere around $3,000 a year, $1,500 for 6 months, $750 for 3 months, etc. You need to decide that part. There's a lot of good information on the website that you can see on your screen. Please check it out, and I look forward to talking with you on our next video. Thanks.